Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into Mel Robbins' The Let Them theory.
Yeah,
We've got a lot to work with here.
we do.
We've got the book itself,
Of course.
some interviews with Robbins, and even a bit of the science behind her ideas.
Right.
And you might be surprised to hear.
Yeah.
This whole deep dive started with a prom night disaster.
That's right. Prom night disaster
Yeah.
that turned into a valuable lesson.
Okay.
You see, Robbins' son completely forgot to make dinner reservations for prom.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. That's every parent's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Did they end up, eating gas station pizza in the limo?
Not quite.
Okay.
So Robbins frantically searched for a last-minute spot,
Yeah.
but nothing was available.
Oh, geez.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Her son and his friends were completely unfazed.
Really?
They were perfectly happy to grab tacos at a local joint.
Interesting. So instead of, forcing this fancy dinner, Robbins decided to just let them enjoy the night their way.
Exactly. And this experience became the foundation
Oh.
for her entire let them theory.
Okay.
Instead of stressing over things she couldn't control, like a forgotten reservation,
Yeah.
she chose to accept the situation and focus on her own response.
So it's like you can't control what other people do, but you can control how you react to it.
Precisely.
It's about taking back your power.
Right. It's that shift in focus that's so crucial.
Sure.
And Robbins uses the seesaw analogy to illustrate it.
Okay.
So imagine you're on one end of the seesaw trying to force the other side down.
Yeah.
You're expending all this energy,
Yeah.
but the other side remains stubbornly up.
Okay.
That's what it's like trying to control others.
Right. So you're putting all this effort in and you're not getting anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you let them be,
Yeah.
you step off the seesaw.
Oh.
Suddenly you're not engaged in that power struggle anymore.
Gotcha. So you regain your balance.
Exactly.
And then you can focus that energy on your own actions and responses.
Exactly. The let me part of the theory.
The let me part. Yeah. Okay. And it's not just a feel-good concept, right?
Right.
There's actual science behind it.
Absolutely.
But this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Does this connect to that whole stress response thing?
Absolutely.
I was reading a little bit about that in the research that you sent.
Yeah. So Dr. Aditi Nurikar,
Okay.
who specializes in stress resilience,
Yep.
explains that when we try to control things beyond our influence, our brain perceives it as a threat.
A threat, like we're being chased by a tiger.
Not quite a tiger,
Okay.
but the brain reacts similarly.
No.
It triggers that fight or flight response.
Yeah.
Your heart races, your muscles tense up.
Yeah.
You might even feel a little panicky.
Right. So it's like that physical response.
Yeah.
Okay. So by letting them be, we're essentially telling our brain, hey, chill out. Everything's cool.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And there are specific techniques that can help regulate that stress response.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Deep breathing, for example,
Yeah.
stimulates the vagus nerve,
Mm-hmm.
which sends signals to the brain that it's time to relax.
So the next time I'm freaking out about a delayed flight or a long line at the grocery store, I should just take a few deep breaths and remind myself to let them be.
It might sound simple,
Yeah.
but it can be surprisingly effective.
Okay.
And that's one of the most appealing aspects of Robbins' approach.
Yeah.
It's about taking complex concepts and turning them into practical tools
Yeah.
that you can use in everyday situations.
Speaking of everyday situations,
Yes.
let's talk about work.
Okay.
Everyone I know
Yeah.
feels stuck in their job at some point.
For sure.
Robbins addresses this, right?
She does.
Okay.
And she brings a really fresh perspective.
Okay.
She argues that if you're constantly focused on what your boss is or isn't doing, like giving you that promotion you deserve,
Yeah.
you're actually giving them more power.
Interesting. So instead of waiting for them to recognize our brilliance,
Right.
she suggests you let them do their thing
Exactly.
while you focus on creating your own opportunities.
Right. It's about taking ownership of your career.
Okay.
Maybe that means updating your resume, networking, or even exploring a completely different field.
Right.
The key is to shift your focus from what's outside your control to what you can actively do to move forward.
It's like that old saying, the only thing you can truly control is yourself.
Exactly. Now let's move on to a topic that can be a real minefield,
Okay.
navigating different opinions,
Oh, yeah.
particularly within families.
This is a big one, especially around the holidays.
Yes.
Family dinners can turn into political debates
Oh, yeah.
or arguments about lifestyle choices real quick.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so Robbins provides this helpful tool called frame of reference,
Yes.
which she borrowed from author Lisa Bilyeu.
So frame of reference, like putting on someone else's glasses to see the world through their eyes.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that people's opinions are shaped by their unique experiences.
Yeah.
Their values, their upbringing.
All the things that have happened to them in their lives.
Exactly.
Okay, so instead of immediately judging or dismissing someone's viewpoint, we try to understand where they're coming from.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Robbins uses a personal example to illustrate this.
Okay.
Her mother initially disapproved of her husband, Chris.
Well.
And at first, Robbins felt hurt and misunderstood.
Yeah.
But then she took a step back and considered her mother's frame of reference.
Okay, so she put on her mom's glasses.
Right. And she realized her mom was probably scared of losing her daughter to someone who lived far away.
Right.
It wasn't about judgment,
but
rather fear and love.
Okay.
Even if it was expressed in a way that felt critical. That's a great example. It doesn't mean you have to agree with the other person's opinion.
Right.
But understanding their frame of reference can create more empathy and compassion.
It's about finding that common ground, even when you have different perspectives.
So the next time I find myself clashing with a relative, I should try to put on their frame of reference glasses. It might not change my opinion, but it could help me understand them better.
And that understanding can often lead to more constructive conversations and stronger relationships.
Now let's talk about something that holds a lot of us back. The fear of judgment.
Yes.
This is something that Robbins openly acknowledges as a personal struggle.
She does. She shares this great anecdote about delaying her social media marketing.
Oh, really?
For her speaking business.
Okay.
Because she was afraid of what her friends would think.
I think we've all been there. Putting yourself out there can feel incredibly vulnerable, especially when it involves sharing something personal or creative.
And here's where Robbins flips the script.
Okay.
She points out that everyone judges. It's a natural human tendency. But by accepting that reality, we can actually reclaim our power.
It's like, let them judge. It's their problem, not mine.
Exactly. You can't control their thoughts or opinions.
Right.
But you can control your response.
Okay.
And your response should be to go after what you want.
Yeah.
Regardless of what anyone else thinks.
It's about choosing courage over comfort.
Yes.
Authenticity over approval.
Now let's shift gears.
Okay.
And talk about something that's constantly evolving.
Okay.
Adult friendships.
Oh, yeah.
Robbins calls it the great scattering.
The great scattering, it sounds a bit ominous, doesn't it?
Well, it could feel that way, especially as we navigate different life stages, getting married, having kids, moving, changing careers.
Right, all these major life changes.
Exactly, and our friendships inevitably shift and evolve.
So Robbins identifies three main factors that influence these shifts. Proximity, timing, and energy.
That's right.
When these elements are aligned, friendships thrive.
Yes.
But when there are changes in these areas, it can lead to a sense of disconnect.
Right.
Even loneliness.
And Robbins shares a personal story about a close friend group that drifted apart.
Oh, really?
And she admits to feeling jealous and even a bit negative, acknowledging her own immaturity at the time.
But her willingness to be vulnerable about her own struggles makes it so relatable.
Absolutely.
It shows that we're all human and we all make mistakes in relationships.
We do.
So how do we apply the let them theory to these inevitable changes in friendships?
It's about accepting that people change, their priorities shift.
Yeah.
And that doesn't diminish the value of the connection you shared. Let them be friends with whomever they choose. Let them prioritize their families or careers.
By letting them be, we create space for new connections to enter our lives.
It's like making room for new chapters. In the ongoing story of our lives.
And speaking of new chapters, Robbins encourages us to be proactive in building new friendships, especially when we find ourselves in a new environment or facing a lack of connection.
She's a big advocate for going first.
Okay.
It's about being the one to initiate conversations, extend invitations, and put yourself out there. Even when it feels awkward.
I love that example that she used with her new neighbors. It was her daughters that convinced her to knock on the door. And that simple act led to a new friendship.
That's right.
It's a great reminder that sometimes the most meaningful connections are just a hello away.
That's right.
Before we move on to part 2, I'd love to touch on a tricky topic.
Okay.
dealing with people who exhibit what Robbins calls adult childlike behavior.
Yes.
So what exactly does that mean?
It refers to patterns of emotional immaturity.
Okay.
Things like the silent treatment guilt trips or an inability to handle difficult emotions in a healthy way.
So it's not about labeling people as bad or anything. It's just about recognizing these patterns.
Yes.
And understanding that they're often rooted in past experiences and a lack of emotional regulation skills.
That's right. And Robbins uses the silent treatment as a classic example.
Okay.
Instead of engaging in open communication, someone might witdraw and try to control others through guilt and avoidance.
So how can we use the let them theory to navigate these situations without getting caught in the drama?
It's about recognizing the pattern, not taking it personally and setting boundaries.
So you let them have their tantrum or sulk, but you don't allow yourself to be manipulated or emotionally drained by it.
It's about protecting your own energy and well-being. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is create some distance.
And remember, sometimes we're the ones who exhibit those adult childlike behaviors.
Absolutely.
Robbins is very open about her own struggles with emotional reactivity. We all have those moments, right?
Absolutely. But the good news is that emotional maturity is a skill we can develop.
Okay.
It's about learning to observe our emotions without immediately reacting.
Oh, okay.
So the next time you feel a wave of anger or frustration rising, try saying, let me feel this, let me process it, let me choose a response that aligns with my values.
So instead of being controlled by our emotions, we can learn to manage them in a healthy way. We'll pick up right here in part 2.
Okay, sounds good.
And delve into some of the toughest decisions we face in relationships. So stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the let them theory.
Yes.
In part 1, we explored the power of letting them be in various situations, from dealing with stress to navigating tricky family dynamics.
Yes.
But now things are about to get really real as we dive into some of the toughest choices we face in life, the kind that involve potentially disappointing or even hurting others.
That's right. Robbins tackles this head on with a scenario that's guaranteed to resonate with anyone who's ever faced a major life decision.
Okay.
She tells the story of a groom contemplating calling off his wedding.
Oh, wow.
Just days before the ceremony.
Oh, my gosh.
Talk about a high-stakes situation.
That's heavy. Yeah, I can't even imagine the weight of that decision.
Yeah.
Not only is he grappling with his own doubts, but there's the potential pain he could cause his fiancée, their families, everyone involved.
It's immense.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught in a cycle of trying to avoid that pain to try to make everyone happy, even if it means sacrificing your own happiness in the process.
It's like that pressure to conform, to follow the expected path, even if it's not the right one for you.
Robbins highlights the danger of letting fear and guilt dictate our choices.
Okay.
She emphasizes the importance of honesty and taking responsibility for our own lives, even when it's difficult or painful for others.
So it's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most loving thing we can do is to be true to ourselves.
Precisely.
Even if it means letting others down.
It's almost counterintuitive.
It is. Yeah.
Letting someone down could actually be the kindest thing in the long run.
For everyone involved.
Precisely. Robbins reassures readers that making difficult decisions that align with our values is ultimately an act of self-respect.
Okay.
It's about choosing authenticity over pleasing others. And in the long run, that authenticity can lead to deeper, more genuine connections.
It makes me think about the times I've stayed in situations out of obligation, even when I knew it wasn't right for me.
Yes.
It never ends well.
It's a common trap.
Yeah.
But Robbins' approach empowers us to break free from those patterns and prioritize our own well-being, even when it's hard.
Now let's switch gears to a topic that's equally challenging, but in a different way. How do we navigate the desire to see others change, especially when it comes to behaviors we see as detrimental or self-destructive?
Ah, yes, the classic conundrum of wanting to help someone, even when they may not be ready or willing to change.
We've all been there.
We've all been there.
Right.
We try to reason with them, plead with them, maybe even resort to ultimatums.
Yeah.
But often our efforts backfire.
Like the harder we push, the more they resist.
Robbins dives into the science of motivation.
Okay.
Explaining that people change when they're ready, not when pressured. She draws a clear distinction between influencing and controlling behavior.
So I'm picturing like a plant. You can provide all the right conditions. Sunlight, water, fertile soil.
Yeah.
But you can't force it to grow.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And that's where Let Them intersects with neuroscience.
Okay.
Robbins offers practical strategies based on how our brains actually work.
Yeah.
One powerful technique is modeling desired behavior.
So if you want someone to adopt a healthier lifestyle, you don't just lecture them about it. You start by prioritizing your own health.
Exactly. It's about leading by example.
Yeah.
Showing them what's possible.
Yeah.
Rather than simply telling them what to do. Actions speak louder than words.
Right.
Especially when it comes to inspiring, lasting change.
It makes sense you're more likely to be influenced by someone who embodies the change they're advocating. It's more authentic and less preachy.
Robbins also introduces a tool called the ABC loop.
Okay.
A 3-step process for encouraging change in others without pressure or judgment.
That sounds intriguing. Break it down for me.
Step A is apologize, then ask open-ended questions.
Okay.
It starts with acknowledging any past judgment or pressure you may have exerted, then initiating a compassionate conversation that encourages self-reflection.
So instead of saying, you really need to start exercising, you might say, I know I've been nagging you about your health and I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm curious, how do you feel about your current lifestyle?
Exactly. It's about creating a safe space for dialogue rather than a battleground for control.
Yeah.
Then comes step B, back off and observe their behavior.
Oh, that's the hard part, right?
It can be incredibly challenging,
Yeah.
especially when we care deeply and want to see the person make positive changes. But it's crucial to give them space to process their thoughts and feelings without constant input or interference.
Yeah.
Remember, change has to come from within.
And finally, step C, celebrate progress while modeling change.
Right. It's about noticing and acknowledging any positive steps the person takes, even small ones.
Yeah.
And continuing to embody the change you want to see.
Right.
Your consistent actions reinforce the message and create a supportive environment for growth.
It's almost like a ripple effect.
Yes.
Your positive choices can inspire others to make positive changes in their own lives.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that influence is far more powerful than control.
Okay.
And that true change happens organically, not through force.
Now let's shift gears to a universal struggle that's amplified in our comparison-obsessed culture, the feeling of never being enough.
Oh, yes.
I know I've battled with this constantly.
Robbins delves into the painful reality of constantly comparing ourselves to others.
Yeah.
Particularly in terms of luck, success, or achievements.
Right.
It's a trap that's easy to fall into.
It is.
Especially with social media.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly showcasing everyone's highlight reels.
It's so easy to get caught up in that cycle of they have this, I don't. They've achieved that I haven't.
Robbins makes an important distinction between two types of comparison.
Okay.
Torturous comparison and inspirational comparison.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Torturous comparison is the kind that leaves us feeling inadequate, envious, and stuck.
Okay.
It's about fixating on aspects of other people's lives that we can't control, like their appearance, natural talents, or family background.
It's like comparing apples to oranges.
Exactly.
You're setting yourself up for disappointment and self-sabotage.
You waste precious energy dwelling on what you lack instead of focusing on your own strengths and potential.
Yeah.
Robbins shares a poignant example of her daughter engaging in this kind of negative comparison, highlighting the emotional toll it takes.
It's so heartbreaking to see someone you love struggling with those feelings of inadequacy.
Robbins then contrasts this with inspirational comparison, which involves viewing other people's achievements as evidence of what's possible. It's about using their success as motivation to find our own path.
So instead of thinking, I'll never be as good as them, you shift your mindset to, if they can do it, maybe I can too.
That's the idea. Robbins encourages readers to reframe comparison as a teacher. It's not about striving to be someone else, but learning from their journey and using that knowledge to inform our own unique path.
It's about recognizing that everyone's journey is different.
Yes.
And that comparison is only helpful when it serves as a catalyst for growth, not a source of self-doubt.
Precisely. Let them have their success, their talents, their advantages.
Okay.
It doesn't diminish your own worth or potential.
Right.
It simply highlights different possibilities.
It's about finding inspiration in others' achievements.
Yes.
Without letting it undermine your own self-belief.
Now let's move on to a topic that's both exciting and often anxiety-provoking.
Okay.
Finding love and building strong, healthy relationships.
Oh, yes. This is something I know a lot of listeners are eager to hear about. Dating in the modern world, especially with the influence of dating apps and social media, can be a minefield.
Robbins tackles this head-on.
Okay.
Acknowledging the challenges of navigating this landscape.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the game of swiping, matching, and presenting a curated version of ourselves, which can lead to feelings of insecurity and confusion.
It's like everyone's trying to project this perfect image,
Yeah.
which makes it hard to know if you're connecting with the real person or just like a carefully constructed facade.
Robbins encourages readers to be brave enough to be themselves while dating, to know your worth, and to choose who gets their time and energy wisely.
So it's about setting standards and recognizing that you deserve to be with someone who values and respects you.
It's about prioritizing authenticity over playing games or trying to fit into some mold of what you think you should be.
And once you're in a relationship, Robbins offers sage advice for navigating those inevitable impasses and determining compatibility. She draws on the research of renowned relationship experts, the Gottmans.
Oh, yes.
I've heard of them. They've done some fascinating work on what makes relationships thrive.
Their research indicates that 69% of relationship problems are not resolvable.
Wow.
This might seem discouraging,
Yeah.
but it's actually incredibly helpful.
Okay.
Because it allows us to make informed decisions about our relationships.
So instead of trying to fix every little thing,
Right.
we can focus on accepting those fundamental differences.
Exactly.
And deciding whether they're deal breakers or something we can work with.
Precisely. Robbins suggests asking yourself a powerful question when faced with a potential deal breaker.
Yeah.
Will I regret breaking up with them more than compromising?
Wow, that's a good question.
This helps assess whether the issue is truly insurmountable or if you're willing to adjust your expectations and find ways to work through it.
That's a great question to ask yourself.
Yeah.
It really puts things into perspective. Right. And forces you to prioritize your own needs and values.
Robbins also reminds us that there's a difference between commitment and compatibility. Sometimes, even when we love someone deeply, we realize that our values, goals, or lifestyles are no longer aligned.
Right.
And that's where let them can be incredibly liberating.
It's about recognizing that sometimes, even with the best intentions, relationships run their course. It's not a failure.
Right.
It's just a natural evolution.
Right. Let them have their differing viewpoint. Let them make choices that don't align with yours. Let them move on if it's ultimately what's best for both of you.
It's about releasing the need to control the outcome and trusting that even if it's painful in the short term, it's a step towards creating a life that truly aligns with your deepest desires and values.
Absolutely.
Now, we can't talk about relationships without addressing the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Heartbreak.
Heartbreak.
Even with the best intentions, relationships sometimes end. Yes.
And that pain can be devastating.
Robbins doesn't sugarcoat the pain of heartbreak.
Okay.
She acknowledges it as a universal experience that can feel utterly consuming.
Yeah.
But she also offers practical research-backed strategies for navigating the emotional roller coaster of a breakup.
I think this is something so many people struggle with.
They do.
It's easy to get stuck in that cycle of grief and self-blame.
The first step, according to Robbins, is to allow yourself to grieve.
Okay.
This means crying, venting, telling the story over and over, and allowing yourself to feel the full spectrum of emotions without judgment.
It's like giving yourself permission to feel the pain.
Exactly.
To process it.
Yes.
To acknowledge that it's okay to not be okay.
Bottling it up or trying to rush through the process will only prolong the pain.
Right.
Robbins recommends a period of no contact with your ex for at least 30 days to break negative patterns and allow for emotional healing.
This can be incredibly challenging.
It can.
In our hyper-connected world.
Yeah.
But it's essential to create space for yourself to process the loss.
Right.
And rediscover your own identity outside of the relationship.
It's about reclaiming your own space, your own energy, your own story.
Robbins also emphasizes the importance of self-care during this time.
Okay.
This includes prioritizing physical and mental well-being through exercise, healthy eating, and getting enough sleep.
So it's not just about wallowing in sadness.
Right.
It's about taking positive action to nurture yourself, rebuild your strength.
Right. It's also important to fill your time with activities that bring joy and distraction, hobbies, social events, new challenges, spending time with loved ones.
It's about rediscovering what makes you happy.
Yes.
What makes you feel alive.
Yes.
And reconnecting with those who love and support you.
Robbins also suggests reframing the experience.
Okay.
Viewing the breakup as a step towards finding true love and making the most of your time being single.
Okay.
It's about shifting your perspective from, I'll never find anyone else, to, this is an opportunity for growth and self-discovery.
It's about turning heartbreak into a catalyst for personal transformation.
And that mindset can be incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
Helping you move through the heartbreak with more grace and resilience. It's about recognizing that you're not defined by your relationship status.
Okay.
And that your worthiness of love and happiness exists independently.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the let them theory.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground, from handling stress, navigating tricky relationships, facing tough decisions, even dealing with heartbreak.
It's a lot.
But I'm sensing there's like another layer to all of this, right?
You're picking up on something really important. All these external relationships we've been talking about, they all stem from one crucial relationship.
Okay.
The one we have with ourselves.
So this is where it all comes full circle. Yes. Let them isn't just about how we interact with the world.
Right.
It's also about how we treat ourselves.
Robbins encourages us to apply those same principles inward.
Okay.
Let go of self-criticism. Embrace our imperfections. And dare I say, give ourselves permission to be happy.
Wow.
It's a radical act of self-compassion that can truly transform our lives.
It's funny, isn't it? We often extend more grace and understanding to others than we do to ourselves.
It's true.
We'll forgive a friend's mistake in a heartbeat, but we'll beat ourselves up for weeks over a minor slip-up.
It's a common human tendency.
Yeah.
But it's one we can challenge.
Okay.
Robbins reminds us that true happiness and fulfillment begin within. When we learn to let ourselves be, to accept ourselves as we are, warts and all, we create a solid foundation for all our other relationships.
I'm realizing that so much of my energy has been spent trying to meet some impossible standard of perfection.
It's exhausting.
That's why Robbins' message is so liberating.
Yeah.
It's about letting go of that need to be perfect, to please everyone, to achieve some unattainable ideal.
Right.
It's about silencing that inner critic and replacing it with a voice of kindness, encouragement, and self-acceptance.
Okay, but how do we actually make that shift?
Yeah.
How do we quiet that voice that's constantly telling us we're not good enough?
Robbins suggests a simple yet profound reframing.
Okay.
Instead of asking ourselves what we should be doing, what we should have achieved, or how we should look, we ask a different question.
Okay.
What would it look like to let myself be happy?
Wow, that's powerful. Just saying those words out loud creates a shift in my thinking.
What would it feel like to let myself pursue my passions, to express myself authentically, to create a life that truly lights me up?
Right.
These are the questions that unlock the door to self-acceptance and fulfillment. It's like giving ourselves permission to live a life that feels good on our own terms, not based on some external definition of success.
It's the ultimate let me.
Okay.
Embracing our true selves, imperfections and all, and allowing ourselves to experience the joy, love, and abundance that life has to offer. And that, my friend, is the essence of Robbins' message.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the let them theory, let's recap the core principles of let them. It's about accepting what you can't control, focusing on your responses, and embracing the power of influence rather than force.
Yes.
It's about creating healthy boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and cultivating both inner and outer peace.
And most importantly, it's about remembering that you have the power to create the life and relationships you deserve.
Yeah.
You're not a victim of circumstance.
Right.
You're the author of your own story.
And that is such an empowering message.
It is.
We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and practical tools to apply in your own life. So as you go about your day, ask yourself, what area of your life could benefit from a little let them magic?
Yeah. What would it look like to let go of what's holding you back and embrace the let me that's calling you forward?
Remember, personal growth and transformation are ongoing journeys. We encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep letting go of what no longer serves you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.